What is going on, AFW faithful? This is your commissioner, Mr. Down the Middle, the voice of the voiceless, I guess, trying to get in on that CM Punk love, the Tony Deppen of wrestling figure collecting. It's Dylan Gilbert, and with me is my good friend, the Daredevil, Dave Dahl.
This is your friend, your hero, your My House Sports Gear sponsored athlete, Retromania Wrestling Superstar, or the Virgil, whichever one you want, the king of the downvote, the head of AFW Breakdown, the Daredevil, Dave Dahl, and we are coming at you today with a little review ski of AEW All Out. Wow, I just realized this is a dream match I'm holding up probably for a lot of people.
That
Um,
is a dream match for this guy right here.
but I'm just holding up two random figures just for the shits and giggles. Uh, but yeah, so we're gonna review All Out, which I can honestly say was 100% worth every cent of $50 to watch.
That
And
was the most fun I've had watching a wrestling show in years. Man,
I
like,
I usually have to like if I'm watching a pay-per-view for anybody else or just rewatching one. I'm usually like playing my Switch or playing on my phone. All Out pretty much had my attention the whole time. There were some down moments, but other than that, like there's a couple little things. My attention was in the pay per view. I was super psyched to see Punk come back. Uh, I was super psyched to see Christian take on Kenny again. But and that cage match, that cage match.
yeah.
So it was
Man,
a hell of a pay per view. We're gonna get into it. We'd start with the buy-in real
yeah,
quick.
so the buy-in, we had a 10-man tag team match which put the best friends, Orange Cassidy, Chuck Taylor, and Wheeler Yuta filling in for Trent? Question mark. And Jurassic Express, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus with Marco's Stunt on the outside, facing the Hardy family office of Matt Hardy, Private Party, and the Hybrid 2 with the Blade at ringside, which the babyface team wins. Shocker, pre-show. Babyface team is gonna get the victory. But what was also an actual shocker was the return of the Butcher. I guess he's back from. I think he was injured, but I think there was also there. Like
I think he
I
was
think I've seen
recording.
some stuff with Every Time I Die, which fantastic band by the way. But the Butcher is back.
And they
Uh, you
explained
know,
the whole Wheeler Utah thing when they were coming out, by the way.
yeah,
So Wheeler, Chuck Taylor, and Orange Cassidy. Orange used to be an ant. Just to put that out there, I might get in trouble for
yep,
that. Whatever. He used to be an ant at a company and school that shall not be named. And Wheeler is a student of Chucky and Orange. So that is where he kind of slid in to replace Trent for the time being.
right,
Whether it's a
right.
permanent spot in the best friends or just until Trent comes back, we don't know. But all the best to Trent.
Yeah, all
He
the
had
best wishes, man. I
spinal
want Trent
fusion,
back.
and
Rough surgery.
yeah, spinal fusion is not a joke. But he does have a figure coming out, which is pretty cool.
Really need that Trent? Question mark figure. Really need that sexy Chucky T.
The next
Uh,
Orange Cassidy that was revealed with the best
that
friend
Orange
shirt.
Cassidy looks good, man. Looks really
Chris
good.
Statlander.
We're gonna get to Chris Statlander. Don't worry.
Oh
I
yeah, I forgot. I almost
I
forgot.
was I was wearing that shirt that for All Out because I'm a Statlander mark. Brian, if you're somehow listening to this, you killed it training that one, my friend.
How
Good.
how does she not have a special like all out of this world T-shirt for all out? Like that's like a
Somebody's
layup. That's a
somebody's
layup.
slipping, man. Somebody's slipping. I think had she won a title, maybe. But so now that we're past the buy-in, let's get to the
Match one.
opening opening match, Miro versus Eddie Kingston, and what I can only say I am disappointed JR did not call a slobber knocker, because those two men just beat the holy hell out of each other, and I loved every second of it. In the end, Miro does defeat Kingston by pinfall, but there is some chicanery. Miro gets into the corner, pins the ref up against the corner, low blows Kingston, follows it up with one of the most vicious kicks I've seen in quite a while. And Kingston takes the fall, but I mean, looked about as strong as you could
That
against a
match,
freak like Miro. That match was gnarly.
that match solidified everything I already knew about Eddie Kingston. I've been at events with Eddie and I've gotten to talk to him just a tiny bit. He's a freaking tree of knowledge, and it really just shows that he should have been at this caliber of a company a long, long time before he actually was. To go from, you said this when we record our episode of AFW earlier, to go from challenging Cody and just trying to, get a little something to being where he's at now, where he's a predominant member of the roster. He's getting a figure as
Yeah.
well,
To
which
go
I'm
from
excited for.
literally challenging a bunch of major wrestlers because he had no other options and he was about to walk away from wrestling as a whole, to 10,000 plus people chanting Kingston, was, I mean, like, man, I had chills watching it. Like, I've got nothing but love and respect for Eddie Kingston, and I hope he can wrestle at this level for another 10, 20, 30, however many years he's got in the tank. Man, I will be there for
Even
all of
if
it.
even if he doesn't wrestle for that much longer, he's still an asset. I mean, he has so much knowledge.
Oh my
Like,
god. The
he's
knowledge, his
just so good.
ability to talk, like he could be a manager for, the rest of his life. His promo skills are unreal. His knowledge is unmatched. He may not have
Pun
won
intended.
the TNT. Yeah, he may not have won the TNT championship, but my God, man, like my respect for him was already high, and he knocked it up another three notches with that match.
I'm
He's
sure
got
he'll get
chops that sound like
another
a
one.
baseball bat.
I'm sure he'll get another shot and he'll actually get it. He'll definitely hold that TNT title at some point. Maybe even the world title at some point.
Fingers
The only thing
crossed.
is I see if he holds the world title, not a knock to him because you just sometimes need stuff like this. I see him as a transition champion
Hmm.
where he gets the belt off of one champion to give it to another so you don't destroy the credibility of another one. Like it's such a weird thing when they do that, but like sometimes you just gotta because it's
But I
better to just
mean,
break down one person's little reputation a little bit than completely destroy one.
but if you have to do that with anybody, I mean, Kingston got a lot of flack after that exploding barbed wire match, and within one promo on the next episode of Dynamite, everybody went from like, "Oh, he looks so stupid," to like, "Okay, never mind, this is our guy again." Like, I mean, all it takes is one promo for him to just like win
Exactly,
people back over.
and
He's so good.
that's why you be a transition champion. I mean, if you look at WWE, they did the same thing with Drew and Miz and Bobby.
Hmm.
They didn't want Bobby to beat Drew so that Drew could come back for the title hunt and do that story that they were doing. So you have the Miz cash in after Drew is beaten down, win it, and then Bobby takes off of Miz. And it's a cleaner story for what they were going for. So, but Eddie deserves every bit of what he is going to come into uh when
Oh yeah,
further down the line. So
and just a quick note before we move on to the next match. Man, him dropping "Redeem D's nuts" and then them getting the T-shirt that he wore to the ring. I have not laughed that hard in quite a bit. That was just pure Eddie being Eddie. And man, it just made that feud that much
S-
more heated. It was so great.
s- So, of not to go back to like a WWE thing again real quick, but I'm going to do when they did the Evolve special
Hmm.
for WWE Network. I was there. I was actually working ringside in one of the corners, pulling cable and grabbing guys' gear and stuff like that. So I was sitting in the meeting beforehand where they're going over everything and kind of like, hey, we got two apron spots. Who's doing apron spots? And they only allowed two matches to have apron spots. And Gabe Sapolsky goes to Eddie. He goes, I went through a lot of trouble to get you saying bastard on the network approved. So please stick to that. Do not curse or do anything else. Because he comes out and he calls somebody a creepy bastard or some kind of bastard. I don't know. I forget exactly what he said, but he said bastard on the WWE network, and that had to be approved. yeah, yeah. You have other people coming out and saying the F word on AEW, and it's just like, yeah, whatever. Go ahead.
They have. I don't think they said the F word yet, unless it's been accidentally to the camera.
Uh
We're still waiting on Chuck to say the S word on
the
national
media scrum.
television.
The media
Oh yeah,
scrum. They were just letting them
yeah.
fly.
Oh yeah, media scrums. That's not the same thing. That's not on network
But it was
television.
by it's by somebody we'll get into later. And it actually shocked me that he said it because I didn't think he would say it. Because, like you told me about something earlier, I didn't know about because that was before like I really found indie wrestling. But we'll get into that in a little bit.
That is right. All right, so our next match of the night from one hard hitting, tough SOB to another. Next match is John Moxley versus the only man with the stones to come through the forbidden door, so to speak. Satoshi Kojima, which was just a great hard hitting match, but
But did
Moxley
he
takes the
really?
win by pinfall.
Did he really come through the forbidden door? I mean, he's been working Impact a lot lately, so like,
It's still the forbidden door, quote unquote. I mean, we all know it was supposed to be Tanahashi. We're supposed to get a little high fly flow, but there was there was some decisions made semi last minute which brought Kojima out.
I did not
But
know about that actually.
yeah, so that was maybe I'm just too much of a nerd. But it was supposed to be Tanahashi, and he actually mentioned it in one of his promos that he wanted Tanahashi. But there was some I don't know if it was travel issues or if it was New Japan saying, "No, we're going to keep him in Japan." But then
Well,
we
unless you're
also,
dropping a belt, like it would make no sense to have Tanahashi wrestle Mox when he's a champion.
yeah,
Because you tarn it. He Mox beats him in a non-title match. If you have no plans to bring Mox back to New Japan right now, like it doesn't do anything for you for that match. Now you have him wrestle Kojima, where the outcome really doesn't matter for anything. It just gives him another notch on his belt that he's a tough son of a bitch who can sing "White Wedding" to a
yep,
T in karaoke.
yeah.
So
What I loved about like the kind of abbreviated build because it was like heavily hinted that it was going to be Tana, and then it being Kojima instead was that Moxley in one of the last promos before All Out said what he was going to do was going to look more like felonious assault than a wrestling match. But then him and Kojima had a really uh, great competitive match. I mean, they went 11 minutes and 50 seconds, which they kind of talked this up like it was going to be a 2 or 3 minute squash, but I think Moxley's got a little bit too much respect for the Japanese legends, and I definitely know that Tony Khan has a lot of respect for those guys. So I mean, they had a great match, a lot of brawling into the crowd, a lot of stiff strikes back and forth, but Moxley comes out with the win, and then first major shock of the night, Minoru Suzuki comes out, and him and Moxley end up kind of going back and forth, and they were trading shots that My God, you could hear him hit. It sounded like Tyson in his prime when he would catch somebody on the jaw. These guys were just bashing each other's heads in.
I can only assume the Minoru Suzuki situation is a compromise for not having Tanahashi. Because it's the
Which
only thing that makes
if
sense, really, when you think
if
about
that's the
Mox.
case, if that's the case, I'm glad we didn't get Tana because my God, I never knew how much I needed Moxley versus Suzuki. Because I mean, like those guys are
Didn't
just
GCW do Mox versus Suzuki, or
they might have in a blood sport, but I don't remember.
they, if not, they both were advertised for a GCW show
I know
together.
we've had Suzuki in Bloodsport a few times, but I don't think it was against Mox. But
Maybe it's that, but I
regardless,
know
man,
Mox was one of the big like headliners that was advertised on the show with Minoru. I'm a big fan of Suzuki Gun, especially when uh, you know, Harry and Lance were there as part of Suzuki Gun. I was always a big fan of Taka Michinoku just because it's hard to say Michinoku, and
yeah,
Michinoku driver like Taka was fun. Cut off El Pepe. Uh, gotta love old Val Venus storylines.
choppy, choppy.
But Taka was always fun to watch. So like with Minoru coming over and Lance already being there, who else maybe from Suzuki Gun might come, and maybe that starts a whole story that can carry between New Japan and AEW and keep that
Yeah,
flow going, kind of like how the Kenny with the Impact World Title uh, story was going, keeping the two companies intertwined. Um, it would be a cool thing to see. And with Kojima doing Impact and now doing AEW, he's now working three companies. So
hmm
it could be very interesting booking decisions made from there. And I'm looking forward to seeing Mox versus Renaro because that's just going to be a
oh yeah,
freaking slugfest. And like I said to you earlier again, you know, every time you see Mox, he just looks like he's getting bigger and bigger. And it's not in a necessarily bad way. It's not like he developed a dad bod or anything like that. He's just getting big. And
yeah,
that could be a problem for Suzuki because next time they see, or was it this Wednesday or
yeah.
well, we're
Wednesday.
yeah, so we need to drop this before Wednesday.
Oh, it's
Uh,
it's it's gonna be going up Tuesday, the 6th. I'm putting this thing up quick.
so you know, yeah, with that, like he could be a little bit bigger than he saw him on Sunday. So
Yeah, and it was the 7th, not the 6th. I'm behind on my times here, but regardless, yeah, no, I mean he just keeps looking more and more like a threat, and especially after what he did with taking the title off of Cardona at GCW. Man, I best case scenario, we end up with like a Suzuki Gun storyline. Worst case scenario, we watch John Moxley and Minoru Suzuki beat the holy hell out of each other on Dynamite,
it's a
and I
win-win either
think
way.
it's win-win because my God, when Suzuki came out, me and a couple of the people I was watching All Out with were absolutely losing it because it's a no-brainer matchup. You've got two guys that hit so hard and look like the kind of guys that you legitimately would not want to be in a bar fight with going at it. I
Not at
mean,
all, unless they're on your
oh,
side.
yeah.
But
So
let's go on to the third match, which
brings us
was
on to our next match, which is Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, versus one of the
Statlander.
greatest products of Creative Pro Wrestling, Chris Statlander, in what was just one hell of a match, man. Like
That was a great match.
I loved how they really showed that these women have a history because every time Britt went for the lockjaw, Statlander had some sort of reversal, some way to slip out of it, and every time Statlander tried to set up for like a big bang or a 4-5-1, Britt had her number all the way up until the very end, where Britt takes the title by submission, and just continues her reign of dominance. Man, both of these women are just absolute stars in my opinion.
The thing too that you also got to see, which was a big, big thing, was Orange stayed out there,
Hmm.
and you saw so much more emotion out of him to the point where
Yeah,
he started yelling at her like he was a coach, and it motivated her.
he
So like,
literally screams, "Stat, get up!" And that was more movement and more emotion than he showed in the 10-man tag he was a part of to open up like the festivities of All Out.
so you
So
can
you saw
see
another
like,
side of Orange out of
well, he's
this.
also a vet who's taking an interest in the younger talent, you know. So like, I mean, Stat's still a younger talent. No matter how good she is, she's still a younger talent. So like
Yeah.
him showing that interest and getting behind her like he has since she's come back and joined Best Friends and everything, it's just great. And it was phenomenal. I mean, there's one spot I think was a little rushed, uh, where she went to do the headstand spot in the corner. It was
Hmm.
just a little off, a little too quick, I think, on Britt's part, but still the match as a whole was stellar. And everybody criticizes AEW's women division because the matches are sloppy and there's a lot of young talent. Da, 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 da. Guys, you gotta look at that match and realize like that younger talent can deliver. You just gotta let them do
And
their
just
thing.
keeps getting better. Like I think one of the spots, and I forget the exact move. I want to say it was a power bomb, but Britt didn't quite get up quick enough. Like maybe their timing was a little bit off. Maybe just pressure of the moment. But just freak strength from Statlander. Britt doesn't quite get the timing right. She gets
Uh,
her all the way up, powers her completely up, and just brings her
you mean
to the
you mean the
canvas perfect.
superplex?
That no, it wasn't the superplex. It was in the ring, but the superplex too. Like that was two women that just like absolutely had each other's number, but also had each other's back. Like
Yeah,
it
because
was that was incredible to watch.
if Stat wasn't as strong as she was, that could have been disastrous for both of them when they
That's
slipped on that superplex.
that superplex could have been really bad, but there was I want to say
Um,
it was a power bomb in the middle of the ring because
I
I
think you're
just
talking
remember.
about the electric chair.
That's
She
right.
had
It was the electric chair. 'Cause when
she
she
had
got her
trouble getting
up,
there.
she kind of forced her into place, and man,
It
she could have very
was
easily let her go. Like,
they were in a weird position that she was transitioning it to, and she kind of had to force her up there. But they
hmm
got it. I mean, Stat recovered good. I mean, it
yeah, I
just
mean, they made everything look great. Like I was so impressed with that
they
match.
didn't like it wasn't botched or anything. It was just she needed to put more strength into it. It wasn't a situation like they messed up a whole spot and needed to move on or anything. It was just, hey, I'm in this awkward position. I need you to muscle me up here. Like that's all it was. And if
When
people like shit on
had I
it,
not
then they're
been
stupid.
had I not been sitting in a room with with a guy that's like he was currently holding a championship in a local promotion, and his manager, I wouldn't have been watching so like just so much for detail. But like I think had I just been watching 100% as a fan, I might not have even caught a little bit of that. But I was like watching it so like fine tooth comb so that I caught those couple moments. But even still, that was a fantastic match.
Last night was honest. Well, yeah, last night, whatever. All Out was honestly the first time in a long time I didn't watch his homework. Like
Mm-hmm.
it had that feel like you need to watch this as a fan, not
Yeah.
as I didn't watch it as Daredevil Dave Dahl, your friend, your hero, all that my spiel. I didn't. I watched it as you know 4-year-old me watching WrestleMania 7 for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I watched that last night, and I was not disappointed. So like, and the Stat and Britt match was incredible for it. Really was.
Yeah. which that match final ending being Baker locking in that lockjaw, which is just such a devastating submission hold. Like I love the way she lands that hold. But that brings us into our next match, which spoilers, I think maybe my match of the night. The Lucha Brothers, Penta El Cerro Miedo, and Rey Fenix versus the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, in a steel cage tag team championship match that was equal parts spot fest and absolute freaking war.
Oh,
I
it was
mean,
a hell of a match.
that
Uh,
was just, man.
so like I'll get shit on for my opinion, and I'm going to share it because I shared it with you earlier. But, like I still feel that the tack shoe wasn't necessarily needed, and I know you said it was a homage to something the Bucks did on the Indies.
It is. It was a direct callback to when they wrestled World's Cutest Tag Team.
Do not say I was going to
Um,
say, do not say the name
he
of the one guy.
he who shall not be named because he is a absolute piece of garbage. And Candice LeRae took that thumbtack Nike, and it was one of those spots that just it's an infamous indie spot. So when they pulled the thumbtack shoe out, me and the guys that I was watching with were all freaking out because we all knew that spot. Like that's an
And
infamous indie spot.
but like I said to you already, they had already ripped the mask. They were already
Mm-hmm.
bleeding. Like it wasn't something that was necessarily a bad thing that they did, but it was something that could have been built up and done at a later time, maybe during the rematch. Like I said to you, I'd much rather have seen it being blown up and like reversed on them this go around to tease it, and then next go around they get it. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean they win the titles back or anything, but they could still get it. And it would have been something better that maybe it was done sneaky or something, like an Eddie Guerrero type, take the boot off kind of thing, and then slip the thumbtack shoe on and do. Also,
Whereas to me, where I saw that is it's that like sadistic side of the Bucks that you don't see because they're the Young Bucks. They're flips and super kicks and
well,
everything's
what?
fun. Whereas they were bitter heels in that match. Like they were
Yeah,
trying everything they could to hurt the Lucha Brothers to take to take those belts, like and walk out with them any means necessary. You were seeing a much more like violent Young Bucks than you're used to seeing.
what also kind of bothered me about it, though, is like he was standing on it, and thumbtacks little spikes aren't that strong.
Mm-hmm.
So like they weren't gonna stick into that mat because the mat is a thick material, so they're bending, and you even saw that when you saw the shoe up close. That a lot of them were bent over, so that kind of ruins that whole spot when the tack part of it is not gonna actually be effective when they're bent and everything like that.
I mean,
So
bent or
like if he was
unbent,
kind
if
of
you're catching tacks right here, it's not gonna feel good.
no,
I mean,
but instead of stabbing you, you're just feeling the metal. You know what I mean? It's instead of getting skewers in your head, you're getting a sheet pan to the head. You know what I mean? Like
neither one of those sounds fun. I'll be real.
the skewers suck. Trust me, I know. Thanks, Masada. Uh, Shout out to
I hate
Masada.
to
He's
say
awesome. I love the
I hate to
guy.
say I'm jealous that you got skewers from Asada, but look, man. If
Insert
I can
clip here.
catch him at a
Not
meet and greet, I'm
joking.
just gonna hand him skewers and be like, "Look, make me bleed."
No, he wouldn't do it because there's a
I
certain
know he
way.
wouldn't, but man, I have to try.
There's a certain way. Like he made me cut him to the right length myself because I was the one taking him. Since I was taking him, I had to set him up. But you're off my train of
My
thought.
deathmatch love aside, continue.
Um, I would have rather seen him like not stood on that shoe either. Like kind of keep his foot up or like maybe put the toe, like kind of walk on his toe, like
Hmm.
something to protect it, like to make it show it's fully effective. But it's just me kind of nitpicking. I love the match as a whole. Like I said, the shoe might have not been necessarily needed, but it did add just a little bit to it.
Well,
But
and I mean, while we're nitpicking, we'll jump ahead to the finish. My only gripe with the match, honestly, because like I know some of the guys that I was watching with said it was a spot fest, and it's like, man, you've got the Young Bucks, Ray Phoenix, and Penta. Of course, it's going to be a spot fest. You've got four of the greatest pure athletes on the planet in a steel cage match. Like, yeah, you're going to see some wild stuff, but my only gripe is with that finish where Phoenix comes off the top of that cage with a beautiful crossbody while Penta is holding both Young Bucks. Penta, I mean, it's pretty clear takes the bulk of the impact because like the Bucks catch like the head and arms and then the legs of the crossbody, whereas the Penta catches all of the torso of Ray Phoenix coming all the way down from what just looked like an insane fall. And even though he kind of rolled out, like you said earlier, he kind of took the momentum and rolled back, he still stood up like he didn't feel a thing. And it's like, man, you've got the Bucks laying on the ground like both of them have been hit with a shotgun blast.
you
Like
gotta
I
remember
would
though,
have
they took
loved
a lot
to.
of big stuff before they did that too.
Well,
So
I mean, even still, I would have loved to have seen Penta kind of sell a touch more, but that's also their big moment. So, I'm totally just nitpicking. I think that finish was incredible. I think that crossbody off the top just, man, Phoenix made it look like $1 million because you could have he could have fallen a bunch of different ways. The way he came across was just perfect.
oh yeah. I mean,
But
Phoenix is really good with that stuff. I mean, look how he was like kicking off the cage for the arm
yeah,
drag and stuff like that. So like, Phoenix is just good for that stuff.
yeah, oh 100%. I feel like if we were 100% complimentary, people would tag us as like on the payroll for AEW or something. But like so
No,
that is my nitpick. But man, that was my match of the night, and it. I can't say enough great things about the Lucha Brothers and the Young Bucks. I'm such a huge fan of both teams, and they delivered in a
yeah,
match that I mean, my hopes were incredibly high, and they exceeded my expectations. That was an incredible match.
they're so good. It was really good.
Which
Even
brings us. Nope, go ahead.
what is it? It's the Casino Battle Royal next, right?
Yep, Casino.
So we're not going to like say everybody was in it, but
No.
it was won by this prize, which is the first time any of the Casino Battle Royals were won by the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any of the other ones have been. Ruby Soho, formerly Ruby Riot, formerly Heidi Lovelace. Wow, I actually know something
Yeah.
from before time. Uh,
Ruby Soho, which I will continue to bring this up, is reference to a Rancid song, which she used as her entrance music, which made the punk rock fan, ska fan, and me so very happy. Lars Fredrickson of Rancid is a huge pro wrestling fan, so it could not have been hard to get him to license
no.
that song out. And I'm just
And
really
Ruby is
hoping.
she's so talented. Like
Oh,
even
incredibly
when she was
talented.
at the other place, she was the standout of her little group. And it's just
Mm-hmm.
a shame that that they give her more. I don't know if it's because she doesn't fit the look, with all the
Because she
tattoos and the
is
different color hair and all
complete
that.
180 for the look. Like
Yeah,
she
like
is the anti everything they look for.
and not to discredit like Liv or anything like that, but like she's like the Jersey version of Kelly Kelly to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But she's, you know, not to knock Kelly Kelly's wrestling ability, but Liv is at this moment way better than
Oh yeah, way
where
more
Kelly Kelly
talented.
was when she was that far into WWE. Um, I'm trying to be political here because I don't want to say Kelly Kelly was bad because by the end of her run, she was actually getting really good. But in her
Yeah, she
early
got really good
days,
towards the end.
yeah, in her early days she wasn't. Um, but Ruby just has that ability. The only thing is like the camera work needs a little work. If you
Hmm.
watch her give those arm trap forearms to Nyla, I can literally
Yeah, they
say
they didn't look
zero of
good.
them actually connected.
They
They
didn't
look
look good.
they look good from the hard cam side, but on that side angle from the floor, the Roman cam on the floor, they didn't even make a single contact. And
Yeah,
that again, that's not Ruby's fault necessarily. It's not Nyla's fault. It's just you know she's in a new
she's
company working with
adjusting to
people that she
new
doesn't know.
camera.
New camera work. She doesn't know these people, so she's probably scared and hyped at the same time about if I lay this in, am I going to give her seat? Am I going to screw it up if I hit her wrong? You know what I mean? And that's fine. Um, but you see people like Layla Hirsch, and I know from experience because she's hit me. Um, Training at CC Dub, man, she was there and she hits harder than most of the men. Um, she is a little spark plug of just power, and it shows. I mean, she's throwing Penelope and Allie around like nothing. And honestly, I think she stood out a lot in the battle royal. Besides, like Ruby coming out,
Yeah, she stood out a lot. I loved that Ty Conti, like, even though she kind of got saved by Anna Jay, the returning Anna Jay, which
yeah,
look,
other
bring
way
back
around
Anna
in the battle
Jay.
royal.
No, in the matches before on
Okay, I was gonna
Rampage.
say, in the
Yeah,
battle
no,
royal,
like
it was reversed.
it was Anna Jay kind of making the save return on Rampage, and then having Tay really have her moment, because I thought for sure, like, returning Anna Jay, they were gonna give her like all of those spots, whereas Tay Conte like really got a lot of those big spots, kind of saving Anna Jay. It's great. I think she's incredibly talented, and I think she's gonna continue to just light it up. But
Um, the
you
only
know,
disappointment I had with the battle royal, besides like some of the awkwardness of it, was like I don't think Jade really showed off her power as much as she should have.
no,
Like she had the one, I think she only really had the one power moment, and that was throwing Layla out. But like
yeah,
you're
she
literally
slung
throwing out
Layla over.
you're throwing out the smallest one. Like you pick up a Penelope, you pick up a Allie, or even a Ty or Tay or Jay or any of the girls that are just a little bit bigger, and you have that real power strength moment.
Well,
I
and
think that's what she
Penelope
needed.
could have easily taken that spot, because I mean, like, and maybe I'm being too critical. Maybe I'm too much of an Alley Catch fan. But like, I just think Penelope is carried by most of the women that she wrestles. She has that incredible like Matrix reverse, but outside of that, she doesn't have a lot. So give somebody like Jade a chance to just sling her over the top. And she's already playing heel anyway, so like, people like Penelope because she's incredibly attractive.
Well, the thing
Throw her
about
over the
Penelope
top, you know?
is, yeah, I mean, she started after she was crowned Wing Bowl girl or whatever it's called, Miss
Hmm.
Wing Bowl over here in the East Coast in Philly. So like she started after that, and that's where she comes from is like pageants and stuff. But
Yeah,
she is super talented. She just needs molding, just like everybody else. She's one of those young
she's got
talent.
a lot of pure athleticism. I just think it hasn't been honed yet. And like, her match with Alley Catch at GCW Homecoming was when I really saw just how green she could be. Because
But if
I've
you
seen
watch
Alley have
her
killer matches with so many people.
if you watch her earlier matches though on AEW, and then watch her wrestle when she wrestled like the other night, and you could tell it's still two completely different Penelopes, and she's come a long way in
Hmm.
between those two. So we're not saying for people out there looking for clickbait and stuff like that. We're not saying AFW says Penelope Ford sucks. No, we're not
Oh no,
saying that.
not
We're
even a
just
little bit.
saying she is in that journey of honing her craft right now.
Oh,
So she's gonna have her
100%.
bad moments, and she's gonna have her really awesome moments, and she's getting better and better as she goes on. So don't go
I think she
clickbaiting.
she plays her character 100% perfectly. I mean, she lives her gimmick. Perfectly. I think within the next few years she's got every bit of the athleticism to put on a match like we saw between Britt and Chris Statlander. I just think she's not 100% there yet in ring, but again, character wise, flawless.
Yeah, she'll get there though.
Oh, 100%.
But again,
You know,
congratulations to Ruby Soho for
and
coming
and
in,
Thunder
winning
Rosa
it.
too, man, stealing every shot she was in. Thunder Rosa is a total badass, and I felt like when it came down to Ruby and Thunder Rosa, there was no wrong answer.
Oh no, you're gonna go wrong with that. Not one bit.
So
I
here's hoping
just,
Ruby Soho full gear. We get Lars Fredrickson and Rancid playing Ruby Soho. If she comes down to the ring, a
I
brother
don't
can
think they'll do
dream.
that for Full Gear,
A brother can dream. One of my favorite punk ska bands playing
which
down
we didn't
a
mention.
fantastic wrestler,
My boy Mikey Ruckus performing live for Penta and Ray Phoenix. Um,
which was awesome. I loved that introduction.
Mikey's awesome, dude. He actually made my entrance music right as he was signing with AEW. I'm one of the last ones to get music from him before he signed. So like, it was really cool to see him perform live like that, and he deserves it. I mean, he busts his butt busting out these songs for everybody, whether he's actually singing on them or not. You know, he's still working on them and producing them. And shout out to Mikey Ruckus for a incredible performance. And then what was after the battle royal? Then
After the Battle Royal, we got a career-threatening match.
Jericho MJF.
Le Champion, Chris Jericho versus probably I said Chris Statlander was the second greatest product to come out of Create a Pro, the first greatest product, and the first biggest asshole, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, in a match where if Jericho loses, he has to retire from in-ring competition in AEW. And I think that first things first, we have the countdown to Y2J,
That was amazing.
and the screen pops up Jericho's last match, and transferring into MJF's intro was amazing.
That was
Greatest troll job
perfect.
I've seen in years.
I
Uh,
saw that and I'm like, wow. Like that was just clever and
he
smart.
accomplished his task so well because everybody I was watching it with, we all kind of jumped up like, "Oh my God, is Jericho going to come out with like the top ponytail? He's going to be Y2J. Like we're going to get this whole thing." And then it says Jericho's last match, and all of us just kind of looking at each other like, "Damn it, he got me."
The
We
only
all kind of
thing
laughed because it was like, I really thought Jericho might come out to like break the walls down or something like that. And just being MJF was freaking perfect.
The only thing, I mean, that was perfect. But the only thing that could have made it just a little bit more perfect is would have been if he was standing there doing the Jericho pose and
Well,
doing the turnaround, and it's saying instead of like break the walls down, is goes into the line, I'm better than you and you know it, and it went into his music. That would be the only little tidbit I would have added to that entrance. Because he
maybe
came out like so far after the clock and it's saying Jericho's
right.
last match that it kind of killed it a little bit before he actually got out there. So if he would have did the whole spiel too, like that would have been like chef kiss on it. You know what I mean?
Well, and maybe it was just the TV we were watching on. But when the countdown finishes and it zooms in, we all could see a clear outline, and maybe it was something they projected on like the screen, but you saw an outline like it was going to be Jericho in the jacket, And so, maybe again, like I said, maybe that was something they
And
projected on screen. Maybe we just
it could have
saw
been part
something
of
we
the image
wanted
that
to
they had.
see. Yeah, like I said, something that was already on like the LED board.
Yeah.
But from one great entrance to another, Jericho coming out with lead guitar player from Fozzy
I don't know. The
playing.
guitar sounded a little rough.
The guitar was a little rough, and he skipped a chunk of the verse. But I feel like if you're really trying to make us feel like Jericho's about to go away, having him come out with the lead guitar player for Fozzy playing Judas, even if they didn't play the actual song, which I cannot say enough is a absolute banger. I thought it was a fantastic entrance. If Jericho was to lose that match and have to walk away, that's a really cool way for him to get sent out.
So I actually thought Jericho was losing
I think
because,
all of us did. He set it up like he really could have lost that
but
match and just
look,
gone away.
if you watch it again, look at his face when he's walking out. Like you could sense like the emotion on him. He looked like he was gonna cry. His
Oh
his
yeah,
face was kind of downward. Like he really sold it to the point where I was like, this could be Jericho's last match. It was to the point where like I got called upstairs for something for my daughter and no, for my fiance and all. And I'm like, you guys have the worst freaking timing. Like this, what is it? Like, hurry up! Like, I need to get back downstairs and watch this. And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, it's Jericho. It could be Jericho's last match. Like, if if it wasn't for his facials and stuff like that when he was walking out, I would have never have thought, oh, this is going to be Jericho's last match. There's no way. You know what I mean?
and that's why he's one of the greatest of all time, man. Like he has this uncanny ability. I mean, even at closing in, like on he's either right at 50 or almost 50.
I think
Like
he is 50.
at this point in the game, to still be able to go like he goes and to make you feel any emotion he wants you to feel. I mean, he is just
Dude, he still hits a line salt.
unreal. Yeah,
He's
I
50.
mean,
I'm 31. I could barely hit my moonsault. Like, and he's doing a lion salt. Like, come
they.
on.
I mean, look, I in my figure room, I've got a whole shelf devoted to Jericho. And with zero bias in my heart, I say he may be one of the greatest of all time.
Oh, he definitely
It,
is.
not just his in-ring work, not just his character work, but just like the whole package of Jericho is just it's unreal. And
My,
he made me feel like it could have been his last match, and I'm the one trying to convince the guys I'm watching it with it's not, because I don't want to see him go. Because I know the day he goes, I'm gonna be an emotional mess, dude. Like Jericho has
um,
always been that guy for me.
the only thing I wish he would have pulled out was doing the lion tamer version.
Yeah, and I was, we'll get to that finish in just a second, but I
I
was the
missed the
one
finish.
yelling like, tuck the knee. So
I
for
missed the
for my
finish
friend
because
that
Spike decided to mess
missed
up.
the finish, down here in the boot, fight stayed just fine. Thank God we had power and internet. But so MJF hits Judas Effect on Jericho. Jericho goes down.
So I saw it up to
One.
the point that Jericho had him in the walls, but and
So
MJF was like
Jericho,
biting his hand not to tap.
yeah, Jericho has him in the walls. MJF kind of reverses his way out. So MJF ends up like sneakily kind of, he pops Jericho with the bat
hmm I
because
saw that.
Wardlow comes out. So,
Saw
he
that.
pops Jericho with the bat, ends up hitting Jericho with the Judas Effect
Saw
because
that.
heel. 1, 2, Jericho gets his foot on the rope. Aubrey
Saw
Edwards
all that.
doesn't see it.
I saw all that. So I
Yeah,
missed the second finish, I should say.
yeah. So
The actual
Aubrey
finish of the
Edwards
match.
Aubrey Edwards doesn't see the finish, which I wasn't a massive fan of because, as somebody who has debated becoming a pro wrestling ref, you don't want to make your refs look stupid. You don't want to make your refs look like they're not
But
fully attentive.
she didn't look
But
stupid though because she was watching the shoulders, which is
she was
she's
watching the
supposed to
shoulders,
for
but
pinfalls.
that foot hitting the rope and the angle that she was at,
She wouldn't have saw it.
you know, I think like make your refs look good, but I loved that we had the second ref come down, go like, hold on a second, like he had been at ringside the whole time. This wasn't one of those like WWE like
No, he was. He came out for Wardlow.
yeah. When
So
Wardlow
that's
came
why he was
out,
out
he
there.
was behind Wardlow. And so you had a legitimate reason for a second ref to be out there watching because he was trying to watch Wardlow and he happened to catch Jericho's foot hitting the ropes, which built all the suspense because when they stopped the match on that one, everybody in the room I was in was just like, what the hell's going on? So they restart the match. Both men just showing every bit of the abuse of that match. Jericho gets MJF over into the walls. MJF crawls over, reaches out. He's about to grab that rope. Jericho resets, brings him all the way back into the center of the ring, and just sits down in it. I mean, he held that walls in so deep and so vicious, and MJF taps out. Jericho is still Le Champion, still allowed to wrestle in AEW. I mean, just an emotional roller coaster of a 19-minute match. I mean, but both guys played their part to a T. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I love the match. Like I said, I just missed that end a little bit of Jericho making them tap. But it was really good. But now we come to
The match that easily, if AEW wasn't so consistent with trying to make the world title the main event, could have been the main event of the night.
well, here's the thing though. You could be the first match and still be the main event.
Oh yeah,
You definitely can. So like the last match doesn't necessarily mean you're main event. Yes, you're the last match, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're the main event. So
but like, what's the match that everybody paid for? And that is one Chicago-made Punk versus Darby Allin. First time we've seen Punk step between the ropes outside of his work in heels for the first time in 7+ years. And man, I would be 100% lying to you if I said that when Cult of Personality hit, I didn't have like goosebumps down both arms. I had a tear in my eye when he returned on Rampage, and man, I had all those emotions when he came out for this match. He wore the full leg tights, which I thought was a little bit different.
it was
Um,
awkward at first with the hoodie on.
it was
That's
very awkward at first, but the second the bell rang and he hit those first couple spots, he could have been out there in khaki pants and it would not have freaking mattered.
oh no.
He just
Should we rip this open by the way?
100%.
The box is toast, just so people aren't getting mad at me, which I've
Yeah,
faced before. But you can
no
keep talking
no
while
heat.
I open it.
But while Dave unboxes that beautiful Nexus Punk figure, I was so impressed with, like, for a man that had not been in a televised match in 7+ years, Punk just looked so good in this match. I mean, like, I can't say it looked like he hadn't lost a step, but I mean, he was pretty damn close. Just the way that like him and Darby just went to war. I mean, both of those guys beat the living hell out of each other.
His
We had
movement
that.
was extremely well for somebody that hasn't been in the ring.
Oh, oh yeah, for somebody that hasn't been in the ring that long, he looks so good. Everything was so crisp, so clean. And I think one of my favorite spots of that match is when he hits the first GTS and Darby goes between the ring ropes and falls to the outside.
That was so.
It looked so good.
Yeah, but if you remember his last match in Chicago, or maybe it wasn't his last match in Chicago, but his last big match like this in Chicago was him and John Cena
Yep.
at Money in the Bank 2011, and he does the same spot.
Well, and
So
because
like that was a cool kind of homage to that. But like
because
the way it was done with Darby was so incredible because Darby just fucking flew through those ropes. Like
I mean, because Darby has got to be one of the greatest sellers currently, and he came through those ropes like he had just like he was dying. But one of the spots and I can't take credit for catching this. Somebody on Reddit caught it, and I I'm bringing it up now. But that's one of the opening spots of the match where they lock up, and Darby hits like that that drop shoulder tackle, or it was the drop arm drag, and like throws Punk, and Punk kind of like shrugs it off and looks at the camera. Was a direct homage to 1-2-3 Kid versus Bret Hart. I mean, like if you watch the clips next to each other, it's the exact same spot.
oh yeah.
And so, I mean, Punk being a student of the game, everybody thought with him leaving that, his love for the business had diminished. But, like, nah, man, like, he's still 100% in it. It was incredible just to see him go again.
Oh, this Punk is a good figure.
Yeah, I mean, that's Nexus Punk. That's a great figure.
I had this once before. I'm glad to have it again. I didn't open it last time though. I had it. It'd be funny if this was actually the one I had and the box got destroyed. um, but no. We're actually gonna pop the shirt off of this one. But
Yeah.
no, I love the match. It was a great way for him to come back. I know a lot of people are gonna say, "Huh, he should have put Darby over. He should have put Darby over." But here's the thing:
There would have been a
As-
riot in Chicago, and Darby would have been turned heel at that point, basically.
that then you also ruin the potential of him teaming with Sting, and Khan had said that might happen on the media scrum and
Yeah,
everything like that. But like, if Punk loses, why did he come back?
exactly.
Think about it this way: he went to UFC, lost all the fights he had. I don't think he won a single fight.
Well, hold on. One of them's a no contest because Michael Johnson was smoking a little bit of the electric lettuce, but he
But
definitely lost that fight.
um, yeah, he didn't win any UFC fights, and that's not on him. I mean, he's not a UFC fighter. Yes, he trains in Muay Thai or Jiu-Jitsu or whatever it is he trains in. Oh wow, this Punk looks awesome in this shirt.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic.
Um, but he he just UFC just I guess wasn't for him.
No,
Wrestling
and
is
I
what
mean
he's good
like
at. It's what he's been good at. He's the best in the world at. And if he loses, there's no reason for him to be there.
exactly.
It's not him starting over, but it's solidifying why he's there. If
Well,
he
and if he loses to Darby, and then he turns around and loses to, like, he's talked about a few of the guys he wants to face. Like, I think he's teased Jungle Boy next. So if he loses to Darby and then he turns around and loses to Jungle Boy and then he turns around and loses to, like whoever, it doesn't make those wins special. So, I mean, he beats Darby with that GTS, the second GTS. So it took two finishers to put Darby away. on top of so many of his other moves, like the signature moves like that knee in the corner and the top rope elbow and all that, he he beats Darby, and then he still, like, there's the handshake moment with Darby where he helps Darby up and
Well, that's the
shakes his
thing.
hand and gives him that moment. Like, when the first one of these young talents finally beats him, I mean, you're talking about a monumental push.
But I'm sure Darby's gonna come back around and beat him later on. Like
Yeah,
it's the
it's
only thing. Like
storytelling, man.
he calls himself the best in the world, but he hasn't wrestled in 7 years. So you need to build him up like he's just starting. You can't just have him come in there lose. Not with what how he builds himself.
Yeah,
It's almost like with one of the other guys that just came in. Uh, that I'm not gonna say yet, but if you bring
we'll
him
get
in
to. My
and
God.
he just either one of the next two that we're gonna talk about, if they
Yeah,
lose their first matches in there, what good does that do anybody?
exactly.
And everybody's common denominator is they want to face Jungle Boy. So if he comes in and loses to whoever he wrestles first, and then wrestles Jungle Boy, and then loses to Jungle Boy, it means nothing for Jungle Boy.
Exactly.
So
And and Punk's got so many people. Like, he said it in the return promo. I've got time. I've got Wednesdays, Fridays, and four
that's
Sundays a year.
yeah.
Like, we're not seeing like one of these times where, like, I hate to keep dumping on WWE, but like Goldberg comes back and then he's in like 4 or 5 matches leading up to a major pay per view, and then you never see him, and then it's like a year, and then he comes back and he knocks somebody else down. Like, Punk, at least from what he's saying,
He's
and
full time.
he's full time.
But the
And even
schedule's
if you
also
don't,
lighter for AEW too.
well, I mean, even if you don't have Punk wrestle on Dynamite more than like a couple times a quarter, it's still enough. You've
But
got
that's the
so
thing.
much other talent. Like, if Punk only has 3 matches between like All Out and Full Gear, 2, 3 matches on TV is enough. Him running out and making saves is enough. Like, if he only wrestles their pay per views and then the occasional, like, if they do like Fighter Fest or something like your Road Rager or whatever, it's enough.
Hmm.
But he's still full time, and there's still that threat at any moment that, like, he could come out.
Yeah.
I
So
mean, I think that's fantastic.
yeah. And now we go into what I like to call the buffer match.
And what I like to call the work rate match of the evening, I
Uh,
say that with a little bit of sarcasm.
I was gonna
As
say
as a large man myself, Paul White, I have nothing but respect for. But Paul White versus QT Marshall in a match that lasted a staggering, Dave Meltzer approved 3 minutes and 10 seconds.
was that
In
long?
which, yes, according to Wikipedia, which, as we all know, is the world's greatest source of information because anyone can edit it, so you're getting the best information. Uh, Paul White slapped around Aaron Solo and,
Nick
I'm going to look at
Camarado.
this, Nick Camarado. I didn't want to mispronounce his name.
I actually wrestled. So Nick is from Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
My high school and his high school were actually rival high school. Not like our main rival, but one of our rival high schools.
Yeah, secondary rivals.
I'll tell this story because it still makes me angry.
Go
Um,
ahead.
we were, I think we're a year apart in graduating. I was '09. I think he might have been 10. He might have been '09 as well. I'm not exactly sure. But we were hosting a try match, which is, we have two other teams in. Each team wrestles each other. We're the home team, so we have to give up. The one team gets the girls' locker room, and we give up our home locker room. We get changed and we get out, and then so we gave his high school our home locker room. after the after the match, we find out our locker room's bathroom has been smeared with poop, human feces,
Ugh.
all over the locker room, bathroom, and written on the mirror like Pittman sucks. Uh, and I'm like, what the? But our AD at the time, who used to be a wrestler, which is weird, didn't like our wrestling team at all. Did not one bit. So he comes in at our next practice and starts blaming us for it, saying we did it ourselves. So our
Just
AD literally
trying to get
accuses
that
us.
heat, bro.
Yeah, like he accused us of smearing shit all over our own locker room's bathroom. Like that makes no sense, dude. Why would we do that? Just like why would we do that? And but yeah, Nick was on that team. Uh, Nick's a good dude. He's a nice guy. He's a little out there, but
We're
that's
not going to
all of
say he
us.
deserved those choke slams, but
His character did. Nick Camarado, the wrestler, did. Nick Camarado, the person that I know, not necessarily. Um,
fair enough, fair enough.
but I mean, that match was what it was. I mean, you know you have Kenny and Christian next. You had Punk and Darby before. Bring the crowd down so that the pops aren't ruined for Christian and Kenny and
Oh, exactly.
every
That
other shenanigan. So like,
that was the conversation that I'm sitting in a room with two guys that are one is trained, one has held titles in local promotions, and one of them is like in the process of. But both have got great minds for the business, and I said from probably third match of the night, I said they're putting Paul White and QT Marshall between
there's nothing you could put
Punk
there though. Everything
and,
else
and,
is too
and the
exciting.
Punk match and the Kenny match. Like you've got to do like, and zero disrespect to any person in that match, but like you've got to do something to bring people, to give people a chance to catch their breath. Because
But
that Punk Allen match was just was an absolute war, and then knowing what we know now, I mean, even before we knew what we knew, like Kenny versus Christian was not gonna be a bad match. Like both of those guys are just phenomenally talented.
the
And
only
so
other
you have to
thing,
bring people down a little bit to make those matches pop.
well, that's the only other thing that could have brought them down a little bit is the Casino Battle Royal. But the issue with that is the surprise at the end, which is going to
Which
bring them back
popped that
up.
which popped that crowd hard.
So unless it wasn't a great surprise, which it was with Ruby, like it wouldn't have worked there. So you had no other choice but QT. They're the only
Yeah.
two logistically. Those matches were the only two that could be a buffer. But the thing is, too, if you put the battle royal there, that's too long of a buffer, especially when you're
Yeah.
starting getting later in the night and you have all this other stuff that we know now planned that is going on. Like,
Oh yeah.
but QT is good at being that chicken heel, but he's also good at taking his licks when he finally takes them. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
match
which
is
he's
what
I
it
mean,
was. It was perfect.
he sold Paul White's offense like an absolute pro. I mean, and that's look, that's why he is one of the top trainers for Nightmare Factory. Like he can go in, he can play cocky, and he can
You
act
mean
like
the
he's the
factory? Come on, kayfabe, man. The
what I
factory.
call it.
You call it the Nightmare Factory. He's the factory.
Yeah, he's the factory. But I mean, like there's a reason he's in the position he's in, because he can go in and play cocky, like, and he can talk like he is the greatest wrestler that God put on this planet, and then turn around and take 4 or 5 punches to the head and a couple slams from Paul White, and you believe both sides of it. You believe like what he talks up in promos, and you believe him getting his ass beat.
Mhm.
I mean, that's talent in and of itself. I mean, we knew this wasn't going to be a 4-star match, 5 in the Tokyo Dome. It was a running joke all night that like this was going to be the match where Paul White finally started doing springboard stunners and moonsaults and stuff. But like we all knew that like man, Paul White's he's had a hell of a career. He's at a point now where he's got what he's got. He's got the star power, so like that match wasn't boring. It meant something. But it's a buffer match. End of the
Yeah.
day, it's a buffer match. And that's not a bad thing. Like shows have to have them. Everybody plays a role. So that brings us to the main event, the the cherry on top of just an absolutely fantastic wrestling show. Kenny Omega, your AEW champion, versus Christian Cage in a match that, man, I think was that's another one of those ones like the steel cage match. I had high hopes for, and it exceeded all of it. Both guys beat the living hell out of each other. We had that table spot that got set up very early and wound up not paying off until close to the end of the match. Kenny Omega hitting that top rope one winged angel was just, oh my god.
Insane.
That was a gnarly spot.
I knew it was coming at some point, and I thought it was coming earlier than it did. But like,
I mean
I
that's
was
your
scared for
finish, man.
Christian. I was scared.
Christian hitting that, hitting the kill switch on Kenny on Rampage on that chair. You knew what goes around comes around.
Yeah.
He was gonna take something ridiculous as like a receipt for that, but my God, that top rope one wing angel that looked scary.
It was insane.
So I mean, not to gloss over what was an incredible match with two
Instant
athletes that
classic
are
match. Very
instant classic.
like I
If
love I grew up watching Christian. So like seeing
yeah,
him as a solo guy and being better than he was when he was, WWE World Heavyweight Champion is saying something. Like
yeah,
he was out for almost what, 7 years as well? Maybe almost
yeah.
10. Like he he's only gotten better. I mean,
Look,
it's the same
man,
thing with like
the
Edge.
the
It's the
outwork
same.
everyone shirts aren't a joke, dude. Like that, Christian shows up, man.
I said this to you guys a couple weeks ago. Like Edge and Christian both are looking younger than when they first came back, and it's insane. So like, kudos to
And
Christian for going out there and still being able to kill it
yeah,
every time he steps in there, and even when he's teaming and doing tag matches with like Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, he's killing it. Like he's going
no,
out there and he's
he
doing
really
just as
is.
much as all the young guys because he wants to show, hey, just because I've had a career and I'm doing this comeback doesn't mean I'm gonna phone it in and just take the easy road out the whole time.
Which has been kind of the story for, I mean, just about all of the guys that have like come back for AEW in one way, shape, or form. Like even Mark Henry and Paul White have done a great job of like in their roles stepping up. But like Christian, I think head and shoulders above the rest has just that he's not afraid to go to war still, and he makes everything look so good. And so I mean that absolute instant classic of a match. I think it's overshadowed by what comes next, but like I will say 1,000 times that match was unreal. That is, I mean, two of the best athletes going right now, just absolutely going to war.
Yep, and then you get Kenny who's goes into his spiel, getting cocky again,
Kenny
and
gets
he's
cocky, starts talking a little bit of the trash. The
says
lights
nobody can
go
beat
out.
me. Oh,
Nobody can beat me.
nobody can beat me, and the only people that can beat me are either not here, retired, or dead. Then the lights go out.
Lights go out,
And then it's
and
all about the boom.
everybody in the room that I was in hopped up off of our collective seats because we're thinking, it's this has got to be like that's how they're bringing Daniel Bryan in. It's all about the boom, baby. Adam Cole, fresh off of leaving WWE, what, a week, 2 weeks maybe? I mean,
Uh, it
he
was like a weekend, 2 days,
it's like
because
a yes.
his
His
contract was up
They signed an
Friday.
extension through Takeover. They
Yeah,
got him through
and then
Takeover,
his contract was up the following Friday, which would have brought you to 23rd, 20.
SmackDown.
Well, Takeover was
It
on my
brought.
birthday, so the
Yep.
22nd. So 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th would have been that Friday.
And then the dirt sheets start kind of humming that, like, I it's one of my favorite things about, like, wrestling Twitter and wrestling Reddit and everything is that, like, we hear that Adam Cole's contract is up and that he's ready to walk away, and then I hear, like, all these rumors that, like, he's like WWE's officials have, like, locked him into his home and they're not leaving until he signs a contract, and a lot of stuff that gets blown way out of proportion.
The only thing I heard, I didn't hear anything like that. The only thing I heard and
Oh, I
read
heard
was,
quite a few of those is that they were, like, staying, that, like, they showed up at his house and they were not leaving until they figured out his contract situation.
um,
Which,
uh, the only thing I read was what he said in the media scrum. He's like, he had to talk with Vince. But from what I read, it was like he offered him $1 million contract, which I would say he's worth, but I don't think they would have with the cuts they're making.
I don't think
And
so either.
and I think the whole Twitch thing and them wanting to limit that and get rid of like them having their own stuff. Like look
And
at
he wasn't getting rid of Chugs. Like, he said, like, that was the
yeah.
big thing he said is I'm not getting rid of that.
He even said that when he was asked about it in the media scrum. He's like, that is important to me. I've gotten to know so many people and I've had people come to me and be like, your streams have gotten me through tough times and stuff like
Yeah,
that. But
yeah.
like the thing is like you look at up, up, down, down now. You lost Tyler Breeze because they won't let Austin Creed use him anymore. You lost, you now lost Adam Cole, and they're two big components of your
Oh, yeah.
left, right component of up, up, down now.
Mm-hmm.
So now, like, you're kind of screwing over, Austin Creed or Xavier Woods, whatever you want to call him,
Part of one of your biggest tag teams in the history of
your biggest
WWE.
act in the last 10 years.
Oh, easily. Easily.
Um, and I say as act, not as not your biggest wrestlers, your biggest act. Um, you're now screwing his channel that he only agreed to let you have kind of control over, so he didn't lose it like you're trying to do to everybody else because he's worked too hard to get to that where it was. I mean, hell, it got to the point where he has an action figure with the Up Down Down title. But that's
Which
not
is
what we were really talking about.
prominently displayed because we're a figure channel on my New Day shelf. That is, like, the centerpiece is that figure. But Adam Cole walks away, and none of us expected him to show up that night. Hell, before we were heading over to the house that we went to watch the show at, I was trying to find my "Thank You Brian" shirt because my wife was borrowing one of my wrestling shirts to, like, wear to this wrestling party. And because, like, we were all just like, oh, it's Daniel Bryan's the surprise at the end. And so when those lights went out and it was Adam Cole, one of the guys that was in the room with us, he was yelling things, and I think he was so excited that I don't think he could form thoughts. He just kept screaming the F word. and I was like, "Are you okay?" He was just like, "I'm so excited, I don't know what else to say." And so, and I was the one in the room because I was called a absolute mark by the wrestler in the room. But I was the one that was like, as soon as he came down, I dropped the like, yeah, but whose side is he on? And so I knew as soon as he super kicked Jungle Boy, this second surprise, I was like, that's it. There's no other finish besides this.
It was either send everybody home angry, which would have been a bad thing,
Yeah, I mean,
or
after the
have a
night
second
they
surprise.
had,
But the thing is there was a subtle hit on what side he was on, which I didn't pick up until somebody in the Facebook group had posted. He came out of the heel tunnel.
yeah, which earlier in the night we didn't talk about this. After Punk finished his match with Darby,
He goes to the
and
heel.
he helps Darby up, and he walks over to the heel tunnel, and the crowd kind of goes like, oh, and he looks and he points to the tunnel, and then he points to the face tunnel, and he's like, kind of like, what, which one do I go to? And he like walks to one, he walks to the other, and the fans like kind of guide him to the face tunnel,
Yeah.
and he walks back up that one, like, all right, cool, thanks guys.
But it's kind of cool. Like if we would have realized it, like I didn't realize it because I was just excited to see Cole in
Yeah.
AEW. Um, Again, it's somebody that I knew, I would say, because I haven't seen him in years. Because when I did a seminar with him and he was around when I was training, he was just getting started in ROH
Mm-hmm.
and like branching out from CZW and the little promotions and all that. So, but to see him have such a reaction and a pop for coming out in the thing, I was like incredible because I was there when he was wrestling at the ECW arena in front of 300 people maybe, so like that was cool. But him doing that subtle kind of hint like, haha, I'm gonna be evil,
Yeah.
and not really a lot of people picking up on it, like that's incredible. And that
The
and
the
also is
one the one complaint that I have about the moments leading up to him showing you who he was going to be is that, like, Excalibur, who has always kind of been the voice of the smart fans, should have said the Elite looks like they've seen a ghost, because the Elite, as soon as Kyle O'Reilly versus Adam Cole finished, Adam Cole loses that match. He may be done in NXT. The Elite is already tweeting pictures of Adam Cole dead in BTE when they killed Adam Cole before they talked about the ghost of Adam Cole for years. I feel like Excalibur should have dropped the line like the Elite look like they've seen a ghost, because they all acted shocked. And it's a nitpick, but man, and I was too busy screaming in that moment. I didn't think about it until after the fact.
but they really weren't saying a whole lot when he was in the ring, the
Yeah.
announcers. You
Oh
know what I
yeah.
mean?
That
He got his
they
Adam
did a
Cole
great
baby in,
job of
being
they did a
quiet.
great job of letting that moment breathe.
Because you gotta remember, like nobody had a mic except for Kenny, and you had Adam
Mm-hmm.
Cole going, "You think I forget what you did to me?" Blah, 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 and then he super kicks Jungle Boy, which was perfect. But
Yeah, it was fantastic.
my thing is like they gave us that moment where you could thought either way.
Mm-hmm.
But what better way that like he's coming to a company where all his friends are. You think he's really going to side against them? And
Yeah,
I truly do.
they give you that, like, the Bucks kicked him out for Kenny. So he could take it personally, or he could go like, "Hey, I get it. I'm an asshole too. I would have done the same thing." And so, like, that span of like a minute where he comes down and we get the whole, like, he throws the hands up and everybody in the room I'm in screams in unison with the fingers up, Adam Cole, baby. It's perfect. You get that little bit of like, what's he gonna do? And as soon as he super kicked Jungle Boy, I knew that our second surprise of the night was coming.
But that's where I truly appreciate AEW actually making the tunnels mean something too. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because like TNA did the tunnels and they had two separate entrances, like opposites of the each other. Not like how
Mm-hmm.
AEW has them where they lead to the same stage, but two separate stages.
Yeah.
The way the camera angles worked, you never knew which one you were looking at.
Right.
So you know what I mean? You never knew which one was heel. Like until they had like a little bit of a different look,
Mm-hmm.
then you couldn't tell which one you were really looking at. But then you still have faces coming out of both of them, and so I appreciate the fact that they use ones for heels and faces. But the fact that I don't know if it was just because they didn't want two people coming out of the same tunnel for their surprises, or if it was like, hey, I'm giving you a hint here. Because then when this guy, I'm gonna say it because I want to take it from you, Daniel, wrong name,
Eh.
Brian Danielson. He
Thank you.
actually corrected somebody in the medium scrum too. They called him Daniel, and he's like, "Who? Daniel? What? What? Huh?" Like he stopped it mid sentence.
Yeah,
But when
Brian
he came out,
Danielson,
like that was
aka
awesome.
John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt.
His
If you know,
name
you
is
know.
my name too.
That was
Whenever
like
we go out. Okay.
that was the joke I made early in the night was like, you know, you have to have him come out during the Kenny match because one of the guys that I was watching it with brought up the possibility of it being after Punk, and I was like, no way. I said because he's got more history with Kenny Omega, aka John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt, and I had to explain that reference to him, being like that PWG match where they had the whole like,
What if the
wait,
intro of
your
that would
name
have been?
is my name too, like.
What if they referenced that and played that song first?
I would have lost my absolute shit, but I was also really hoping for the final countdown.
I
As a Europe fan, as someone who grew up in a house with that CD in the house, I was hoping it was Final Countdown. But when they did Flight of the Valkyries into his new theme with like the
born to
old
be born to
ROH,
be great or something, born in greatness or something like that.
yeah,
Born to be greatness, I think it's called. But
and
it's a
it
perfect
brings
song
back
though when you listen to it.
the old like Ring of Honor era, like you're gonna get your effing head kicked in chant, which I didn't catch at the time because I was too busy screaming at the top of my lungs like, "Oh my
It's
God, he's actually here!"
even if you
But when I
listen to it
listened
on
to it
YouTube, it's
after,
hard. It's still
you
hard to hear. I couldn't make it out until you told me.
you have to know what it is, and them having the big gap of like, "You're gonna get your head kicked in." Like it's very like the people that will get it, and the people that won't, it's not like a, well, what is this? I don't understand. Like it they did it just right.
Hmm.
The
Like
people
I
that
had no
knew the
clue what it
American
was.
Dragon popped, and the people that knew Daniel Bryan popped. Like there was no wrong answer there. They did a
Like I
great job with that.
I knew him as American Dragon. I watched a few of his ROH matches, but like it wasn't that specific moment that I saw, so like I wouldn't have known
Mm-hmm.
that. And then like I was trying to listen to it and hear what it was saying, and just the way the music's blended, you couldn't really make it out. So then you told me, I haven't listened to it since you told me, but I'm sure I'm going to hear it now.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. But like if you
If you're
listen to
looking
the
for it, it's there. If you're not looking for it, it's not like distracting.
if you listen to the full song though, I mean it's a short song. It's like a minute 19. The lyrics and everything are just perfect. The song's just perfect for him. It really just
Mm-hmm.
works, and I'm glad to see him somewhere where he hopefully can be happy and wrestle the
Dude,
way he wants to. And like he said
when
in the media scrum, Vince is like overprotective of him. So like he's glad that he can now push his limits again.
yeah,
So
man, he had that $1 million smile when he was squared off, and it was him in the faces versus Adam in the heels. Like he kind of, you saw that smile on his face, and it's like, man, I haven't seen that pure a smile out of him since like Mania 30.
Everybody that has come over has literally just been so happy to be there. Where
Which
like,
you
and
have to give AEW credit. I mean, like,
everybody everybody keeps comparing it to like, oh, it's like WCW, billionaire sports owner, starts wrestling league. But the difference is the guys that went to WCW didn't go because they weren't necessarily happy with WWE, except for maybe Macho and you know Hogan. The guys that went over, like Nash and Hall, went over because it was guaranteed money. It had nothing to do with their happiness. It really
uh,
didn't. Like
I had to
now,
kind of defend Tony Khan, like even before those two guys showed up. It was, like one of the guys that I was watching with kept saying like, yeah, but like, like even when Tony introduced like Sky Blue, he's like a teenager, like just really so excited about it. I was like, yeah, but here's the thing, that's what separates him from like a Ted Turner.
he's
Ted
a
Turner
fan.
didn't give a damn about wrestling. Ted Turner knew he was making money. Vince McMahon, to a degree, doesn't give a damn about wrestling. He cares about sports entertainment and making the stockholders happy, the
Look,
networks happy. Tony Khan's trying to make the best damn wrestling show he can make because
Tony
he was a
Khan.
fan first.
Tony Khan is a fan. That's the difference. And the thing is, too, like he's not trying to make any corporate stooges happy. He's not trying to make you know any big wigs that have any kind of say happy. He's trying to make himself, his talent, and his fans happy. He's worrying about the three people that actually matter out of the
Yeah,
four. So
the
there's four
reason that
things that matter: your corporate powers, yourself, your talent, your fans. You get three of them happy, you're going to be successful.
yeah
Corporate people, they're going to challenge you on it, but then you're going to be like, well, look at the other three. Like they're way happier. Like,
the
eh,
whole reason that the Wednesday night show was called Dynamite was that was his like figure fed as a kid.
yeah,
The fact that like this man got to like billionaire or not, like this man is me, this man is you, this man is Jerry, this man is like a guy that had a fig fed as a kid who gets to now book a federation with like the best talent he can get his hands on. He's not taking that for granted. He's not taking that as like oh well, I mean, I know the fans want this guy, but I don't see it. This is a guy who is trying to give wrestling fans the best damn show he can give them, and I
yeah.
respect the hell out of that.
I mean, he even said it because they're now going to be filming Dark at Universal Studios
Mm-hmm.
and the same building WCW Worldwide did, and the same
Yep.
kind of style. And he was talking about it. He's like, I could have did that. We were looking into it, before we did the pandemic shows, Daly's Place. And he's like, I actually am really glad that we didn't because we were able to bring fans back earlier because we were outside. It's like if we were in Universal Studios, we wouldn't have been able
Mm-hmm.
to do that yet, even if it was in a safe manner. He's like, we've had zero transmissions within the company and everything like that because we made that decision. And now, when they start doing Dynamite or Dark in Universal Studios, it's gonna have a different feel. It's gonna be different. And he even said like, because it was a little kid asking the question. He was asking me like, "Oh, when are you filming Dark?" And that's when he brought up Universal Studios because now they film on Wednesday, they do all of Dark Elevation. They do Dynamite, and then if it's a week they decide to record Rampage, they record Rampage
Mm-hmm.
because they're wondering like, "Oh, what are you gonna do about Rampage just being a 1 hour show, and then you're gonna run a 1 hour show and send the fans home?" It's like, no, if it's a live Rampage, then I'll film Dark there. So like he's making sure he's giving the fans their money worth.
Yeah.
I mean, and we all know Rampage is going to be extended to 2 hours probably once it moves to TBS. There's no way it can't be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it just makes the most sense to move it to 2 hours.
Yeah, and then you're going to be on a different station too. So like,
Mm-hmm.
why not? So like, the way he has it planned out is very smart. Don't always film Rampage or don't always have it live. Film dark in Universal Studios. Film it at the live ones. Make sure the fans get their money's worth. Like, it's super smart of him, and he knows that because he is a fan. And he knows what the fans want to see going to a show. So
Yeah.
kudos to Tony Khan. I'd work for him. So like, but overall, I give this pay per view friggin' 9.5, and that's just me taking a half off for nothing really. It should be a 10. I don't want to give it a 10 because I want to be
I
able
I
to
have to agree.
like I don't want to give it a 10 and say it was perfect because I want the next one to be just as good or better. You know what I mean? And if I
Yeah.
give it a 10, there's nowhere to go up from there. So,
Yeah, I'd say you're right. I'd say 9 or a 9.5 because like I had a few nitpicks, but I even with those, that is the most fun I've had watching a wrestling show in years. I mean,
I've
like
been
that.
training for over 10 years now and like you got to think for a decade now I've been watching as homework. It was nice not to.
Yeah, and that was very much a show made by wrestlers that are wrestling fans for wrestling fans. Like that. I mean, even like the Gaga moments weren't like insulting of our intelligence. Like everything about that show was very much just like incredibly well done. Even your spot fest matches, quote unquote, were like well done. The storytelling made sense. Everything about it hit home in the way it was supposed to. I mean, everywhere from like just a absolute fist fight like we got between Kingston and Miro to like a flippy shit festival between the Young Bucks and Lucha Brothers, and it still felt like every single one of those matches hit home.
Yeah, it was literally home runs all night long.
Yeah,
So, but on that note, this has been an AFW review.
yeah.
Yes, we went on tangents. Yes, we do
This
that a
was
lot.
supposed to be a 30-minute thing, and we're closing in on an hour and
Or
40.
45. Yeah. Um, I'm tired.
Yeah,
But no, like I mean, the pay per view is just that good. It deserves this time to talk about it.
100%.
Um, so there's not much we can say. Kudos to AEW. Kudos to Tony Khan. Kudos to the roster. Welcome
Can't wait
Adam
for Full
Cole.
Gear.
Welcome, Brian Danielson. Welcome Ruby Soho. Welcome Minoru Suzuki, even if it's a short stint. Welcome back, Butcher, CM Punk. Hope to see you in the ring again soon. Like
He's still got it, man. He has still got it.
it,
Holy crap, is he still got it?
it was good to be a fan again. It really
Yeah,
was. So, but overall, just a great job, AEW. Apparently, Raw was actually pretty decent tonight. I didn't watch
haven't watched it because we were recording week
AFW.
one of AFW, which will be
Finally,
premiering Thursday. If you're listening to this when it drops on Tuesday the 7th,
you
this
mean
will be out.
later today? Just we're now
Yeah,
at 2:19 in the morning.
technically later today. Later today. Um, this will be dropping week one on Thursday, the what's the ninth.
Ninth.
So
Vote for Breakdown. AFW
I'm
Breakdown.
I'm down the middle. I can't pick a side. But
We all know you
for
picked Jerry's.
hey man, hey man, hey man. All right, for AFW, this has been your commissioner, Dylan Gilbert. With me
Your
as
head
always,
of Breakdown. Your head of Breakdown.
the Daredevil, Dave Dahl.
Maybe me.
Drop a like, drop a subscribe, comment, whatever. We need ad revenue. Thank you. Goodbye and good night. Bang.